Hello everybody, this is Wissa again. Um, I just woke up, so I hope this is not very noticeable. Today I'd like to talk with you and show you how to create a reusable generic table view. So as you see here, this is the code, everything that we're going to do today, and here's the application. And if you'd like to take it from here, this is the view controller. We only have two files here and the generic table view class. This is everything. So if you'd like to take it from here, work it all out by yourself. If you can manage, you're welcome. Go ahead. And if you'd like to see how we achieve this thing, maybe I say something useful. So let's go. So let's start a new project here. File, new project, and it's going to be a single view app. Let's name it awesome table. Okay, yeah, save it here. Create. So okay, now we have our project here. Let's change this first because it caused a lot of problems. Okay, so here we have our view controller, and we're not gonna touch this now. So let's hide those things, but we need to create a new file, and this file will be a CalcTouch class, and it's going to be a subclass of UITableView. Make sure of this, not UITableView controller, only a table view. Let's name it generic. Yep, a table view. Okay, create. So now we have our generic class. So let's remove this. We don't need all of this. Okay, so let's think this through before we start typing code. We know we have this urge of typing code. So well, we need to understand how this thing is going and working. So to create a table view, usually we conform to the UITableView delegate and to the UITableView data source, and we have an array of data that we want to show in our table view, and we have those methods of the data source protocol. So let's start by conforming, adding our conformance here. So from the UITableView, which one will appear first? Yeah, okay, delegate, and UITableView data source. Okay, and wait for Xcode to help us here. Yeah, X, and always comes handy. So okay, we have our UITableView data source methods here. The first one, of course, the number of rows in section, and this where we tell our table view how many rows we want in this table view. This usually depends on the array of data we have. So let's create this array of data, var we'll name it items for now, and this array of data will be of what type? This is going to be generic class. So what type will we use? None. We want to work with just any type we give to it. So just let's give it like a placeholder type. We want to use like an imaginary type called item. We don't care because we will change this in the runtime. So and we will force unwrap it here just to get rid of this initializer error. So you see here there is another error here. Use of undeclared type item. Of course, Xcode doesn't know what the hell is item is. So how we like get rid of this, or we work with this? So you need to tell the class here, tell the compiler that this class is using a generic type by adding a generic parameter list, and this is achieved by using two angle brackets here, and between the angle brackets we give it the list of generic parameters we are using. So yeah, we're using a generic type called item, so ignore it whenever you see it. It's not real, it's just imaginary, and this will be changed in the runtime, so it gets happy. So okay, so here let's return now the count of our items array. Okay, so this is our first method. The second method is the cell for row at, and here we will when we create the cell and return it to the table view to reuse it. Okay, so let's create the cell now. Let cell equal self.dequeue reusable cell with identifier for index path. This is the one we need, and this identifier will use just cell as an identifier. The index path will be okay, the index path we have here, and what type this cell is going to be. It's the second part, the second mind-blowing part about this. So what type? We usually use like custom types we create and UITableView cell type, but here we want it also to be generic. We don't know what type unless we use it. So let's use also a placeholder type, and this placeholder type will be cell. We will call it cell. There is no real type called cell, and you see that the Xcode again is telling us it's undeclared type. I don't know what cell is. So we will do the same thing. We will add this cell to the parameters list, but you will see another error after that. Let's do this first. We add cell here. Okay, give us the second error, please. Okay, here let's add the return first. Return statement. Yeah, what is this? Too many typos. Okay, return cell. Now we're happy with this. This is the error we want. Cannot convert return expression of type cell to return type UITableView cell, because this method here, it returns a UITableView cell. This cell is not a UITableView cell. I don't know what is this. Yeah, yes, it's an imaginary type, but it has to be of type UITableView cell. Don't just send me anytime. Don't just send me any type and you expect me to use just magically. So here we need to, when we need to enforce this type to be of UI table, my sister, UI table view cell. Hope I don't get receiving any more notifications. Okay. So now that's going to persist. So let's put this into the don't disturb, please. Okay. So here we enforce on this type to be of UITableView cell. This is when this method gets happy, and okay, now I'm sure that this cell will be a UITableView cell. So now we are okay with our methods, but now we don't have any data, really. And how are we going to configure this cell? Yeah, now we have the cell and we returned it, but we need to configure it with the data we have. How we're going to do this? Here we're going to use a closure, and this closure will take two things: the item, the data, and the cell. And we will configure this cell using this item. So let's do this here and see how we'll do it. So let's var config, and this will be a closure that will take two types. The first type is item and the second type is cell, and it will return nothing, just void. And here I'll say config, and I'll pass to this closure the item I have, and it will be in the items array at the index path dot row item, and the second thing will be the cell we have created. Okay, now here. So okay, that's okay, but this is not initialized, and this class is complaining. I don't know, I don't have an initializer, so we will need to add our initializer now. Here Let's do this. So we need our initializer here. Okay, let's use this one, but we will change it. We need a custom initializer. Okay, we will need also the frame, so we'll leave the frame as is, and we will add the two properties here we have. We will add the items, and it's going to be an array of type item, and we'll name the config, and it will be an escaping closure because we need this to escape the method runtime, so it still can proceed and do its stuff while the method is already like moved away. Yeah, and escaping closure, and it will be after item cell that returns nothing, void. Okay, here we say self.items equal items, and self.config equal config. Okay, so this is good. Yeah, and since we have used the custom initializer, we need to use this designated initializer here, the required one, coder and scoder. Okay, so super isn't called. Yeah, we need now to use the designated initializer here. Super.init, it has to initialize using the array, the frame, sorry, and this frame is going to be the frame we receive, and the style we'll use the plain style. So now we are good, no more errors. Good. It is satisfied. Okay, so what's the next thing you think of? Yeah, when we create a table view, we surely add a delegate, and we like assign the class to be the delegate of the table view and the data source of the table view. So we will do the same here. We will make this generic table view the data source and the delegate for this table view. The data source equals self as well. Yeah, because this is the class that's responsible for handling this data and to like receive the selection and any behavior from the table as well. So it has to be the delegate and the data source to the table view. So this point is also okay, done. What else? What is missing here? I'm thinking with you. So yeah, we have here this cell. We need to register the cell here, so self.register, and we will use the type that is passed to this initializer here. So we're using self here to indicate that we're gonna use the type itself, and for the identifier we use down here. Okay, so now we have our cell registered, and since we are building this using code, not a storyboard, we need to turn off the translate auto resize and mask into constraints. We'll make it false to turn it off. So you can like auto layout everything here by yourself, even if you're passing this frame and so on. You still can add other components to the view by using auto layouts. So I think that's it. So let's go to the view controller and see how we're gonna use this generic class. So here, view controller. Okay, so now what we need in our view controller. We need an array of data that we will pass the generic class, and we will need the table view itself. So let's create an instance table view of that generic table view class. So here we'll say var reusable, table, not table. Okay, and this reusable table will be of type generic table view, and here you see I think maybe autocomplete? No, it doesn't. Yeah, it doesn't give me autocomplete because the other file is not saved. Need to save this. Yeah. So here, I hope this works now. It's not working too. Okay, let's write it manually. But I don't like it when Xcode like hang behind like this. Okay, so generic table view item. So now we are telling it what are the real types we're going to use. We're going to replace those generic types with. We created two placeholders in the generic class. The first one we called it item, the second one we called it cell. So we need to replace those because they are just placeholders. So the item type will actually be a string type. We'll use string now, but this can work with any custom type you create. And the cell is going to be UITableView cell. We're making things simple here, and we will force unwrap this. I will initialize it in a moment, so it's okay. And we need an array of data, so let's create our variable array items, name it items as well, equal array, and we need this repeating, yeah, so we'll just repeat this string 10 times. Okay, so now we have our data, we have our reusable table. So let's set up and initialize this table. We will do this in a method here. We'll call it, we'll call it setup table. Takes nothing, returns nothing. So in this method, we will initialize our reusable table to use the generic TableView initializer. Yeah, good. So now we'll give it the frame. I'll give it the view frame, and we'll give it the items, the data, and we will config this cell using the item we received. No, just item, and we will name the UITableView cell we get. We'll name it cell as well. So, and we will configure this cell text label.text to the item text. The item is already a string, so give it the item itself. So now we have everything ready. Only one thing here we need to, well, yeah, we could have like forgot that. We will add this table view to the view, so add subview. It's good that we haven't forgotten this. View subview reusable table, and let's call this method in the view load here. So setup table and run. Let's see, fingers crossed. Yep, it's working. And we have our data. Cool, very good. It doesn't end here. We still have few things to sort out. The first thing is when we need to handle the cell selection. When the cell is selected by the user, what are we going to do? And the second thing we will handle is the reload data in real world scenarios. When you use a table view, usually you don't have a static data array, but you get this data, you call an API and you in the background thread, and then you receive this data in a time interval, and then you update the table view using the table view.reload data. So now we are not the delegates, or we're not the data source to reload this data anymore. This controller is not the data source. So we need to achieve this as well. So let's start by handling the cell selection. So let's go to the generic TableView class again, and here we need a method. It's called TableView.selectRow@, and to handle this selection we will handle it in the view controller. So we will need another closure, and we will pass the item at this index path, at the selected index path, to this closure, and then we'll handle this selection in this in the closure itself. So let's have a closure here. Let's create it and call it select handler. Okay, and this will receive an item. Okay, and will return void. And here in the select row at, we will say select handler, and we'll give it the item at the items index path that row. Cool. So yes, and we need to receive this here in the initializer to initialize our select handler property. So let's say selection. Okay, so let's use the same name, select handler, and handler, and to receive an item. Okay, will return void, and it will be escaping as well. Okay, yeah, good. So self dot select handler equals select handler. Okay, yeah, everything is okay now. So let's try this. We need to use it in the view controller. So let's save this file first and go to the view controller again. And here, let's Xcode help us here. Yeah, okay, cool. So the frame will be view.frame again, and items will be the items array we have, and the config, and here the selection handler. In the config, we will receive an item, and we will receive a cell, and we will use this item to configure the cell text label text. So equal item. Yeah, and in the select handler here we will receive an item, and we will just print that item. Okay, done. Let's run this and see. Voila. Yeah, that's working. Let's test the selection. Cool. Yeah, it's working as well. Everything is going smooth till now. Okay, so what was the second thing? Yeah, the data reload. So when we receive this data somehow, we need to reload this table view again. So let's start handling it from the generic view to table view as well. So let's go to generic table view class, and let's use an extension here to see like how generic classes extension work. It's a surprise. It's just like usually like the usual extensions. You don't need to include the parameters, the generic parameters list or anything. It's already there. So here we need to add a method, and we will call this method reload. Not this one, we'll use our own one, data, and we'll use an internal parameter as items, and it will be an array of item. Why it's not capitalizing? It's okay. Autocomplete is great. So let's do this. So now when we receive these items, we need to reload the TableView. So we will say self.items equal items, and here you can also call the reload data method now, since we have already set our items array with the new data we have received. We know it's safe to reload, and it's okay to reload the data again to populate the new data. So let's first, we want to save this to get this autocomplete in the vController class. Okay, now, so yeah, we need to mark the behavior of this background code and add this delay to the array before we assign some data to it. So let's use an item array, an empty array for now. It's going to give type string, and here in the view reload we will have a timer. Just false warning. Okay, so we will use a timer here and schedule a timer with time. Yeah, this is the one I want. So the time interval we'll use going to be 3 seconds. That's okay. Just don't want to make it like too long. And in this code block we will not use the timer again. And in this code block we will set and reinitialize the items array. So we'll use self because we are inside the closure. Self.items equal, yeah, this array initializer. Regain an item and count 10. And after we have reinitialized our array, we will call here the self.reusable table. We will call the method we have created, this one, reload data, and we'll pass the self.items. We'll pass the items to it. And now it should repopulate the table data. Let's test this and run. Okay, finger crossed, everything was going smooth till now. I hope it ends this way. So we're waiting for 3 seconds. Yep, and it worked. And the selection is also working. And this is how you create a reusable generic table view, guys. I hope this has been helpful to anyone. And I'll leave the link to the repository, the GitHub repo of this source code in the description. You can check this, and also you will find this generic reading in the Swift programming language guide. Very helpful if you wanna go further and understand generics more. I'll leave this in the description as well. And thank you for watching. I've enjoyed doing this and hope to see you next time. Bye bye.